Welcome to Mega Net Gaming, and today's review is going to be on the NES title Solar Jetman Hunt for the Golden Warship. It was one of the first games I had for the NES when it came out. I believe it might have been the first game I bought outside the pack-in games. So, remember as a 6 or 7-year-old kid, this was a very frustrating game. So since then I've gone back to revisit it. So, you know, I eventually caught on to it once I understood how it worked. I had some fun, and eventually somehow made it through the game as a kid. It's one of those it's one of the games where you have to write down the password. There's not a save feature. You get a long cryptic password you have to enter in to get back to where you were previously in the game. So as an NES title, it's not anything that's going to be terribly impressive looking, but that's not the point of the reviews on this channel. Unless the graphics interfere with the gameplay, of course. So what is Solar Jetman, and when was it released, and who is responsible? Solar Jetman was released on October 14th, 1990 in North America, and about a year later in Europe. It is also available on the PlayChoice 10 arcade platform, which is basically it was an arcade machine where you could plug in different modules, up to 10 of them, that consist of NES titles. This game was developed by Zippo Games and Rare. That's the same Rare that would create Donkey Kong Country, and most recently had a game of mixed reviews, the pirate game. It was Sea of Thieves, published by Trade West. And this game is the third installment of the Jetman series. The other ones were on computers. I believe the ZX Spectrum being one of those. It's actually based on a comic. And basically what you're trying to do is you're the protagonist. You're a Jetman, and you're trying to find all the pieces of a golden warship. It's a horizontal side view environment, and the gameplay in a lot of ways does remind you of Asteroids, where you fly around asteroids with multiple screens, that is, with a scrolling screen. Fly around and shoot things. That's the most basic level. You also need to find different parts to the ship, and you have to find fuel and some other items, and then tow it back to your ship. Which all that probably sounds easy enough, except it has a physics engine in there that's programmed, and the different planets have different gravity. And if you don't get the right upgrades or know how to control your little ship properly, it's possible that the weight of the items you're trying to carry back to base are such where you can't even tow them. So you might make it a little ways and end up far down in the planet underneath the surface until you finally hit ground. Hit something solid. So you have to have some practical understanding of inertia and gravitational pulls in order to play this game effectively. Now, as a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, whichever I was at the time, I obviously didn't know a whole lot about. I couldn't obviously solve physics equations at the time, but I ended up getting a hang of it once I realized, oh, this planet has higher gravity than another one, which means it's going to be more difficult to haul these things back. It also means it's going to be harder for me to get off the ground, and I need to be more careful navigating my ship. So between the different upgrades you can get for your ship, the gravity and other physics equations that are programmed into the game, And you actually have some pretty large planets to explore in the process. You actually end up with a fairly interesting game. Now it is more action-oriented than a game like Starflight. And here's some gameplay footage which I'm doing on the emulator. And I actually recently just got a second copy of this game. I didn't have it entered in my spreadsheet, and I thought I didn't own it, so I bought a second copy. My wife bought me a copy. So if anybody's listening to this, I will be willing to trade straight up that Nintendo game for absolutely any game for any platform that I do not own. So I get this craft, it has gravity. Now let's say it swings in one direction, it's going to pull me in that direction too. But this is a planet where the gravitational pull isn't anything too ridiculous. Now let's say you end up crashing. The good thing is you don't die right away, you end up being just the Jetman guy. Now, when that happens, you need to make your way back to the base. This is one of those games that it's not quite as detailed and in-depth as Starflight, but nonetheless, it is for being on the Nintendo, it's actually a fairly impressive game. And once you get the hang of it, it's actually a pretty fun game to play as well. It's one of the better games from my childhood, even though I would have, at the time I enjoyed the game, but I wouldn't have listed it as one of my favorites. But it's one of the games that's actually held up over the course of time much better than some of the others. An example being Tecmo Basketball, which trying to play that game now is about impossible. And I just realized I didn't have it switched over. So, alright, here's some gameplay footage to take a look at it really quick. I'll try to... So you need to know inertia, gravity, and I'm being kind of reckless here. The difficulty curve does go up quite a bit. The first level isn't so bad. It's probably on par with the average Nintendo game. And then the second level, the difficulty curve ramps up quite a bit. So yeah, the story is rather simplistic, but it doesn't need to be all that complicated. The focus of this game is that it's a space game with physics and a lot of areas to explore. And the music, even though it's minimalistic, it's actually not bad. It's kind of fitting for it being a planetary game. And that's what not to do. So you basically gather all the things on the planet you need, like the fuel, the gems, everything else. And then you can actually get part of the golden warship, and then there's a little mini game in between levels where if you gather enough gems you can get an extra life. And then once you get everything done on a planet, you can blast off and go to the next one. So, where do we rate this game? This game, it's definitely an above average game. And it's one of those games that's just like Starflight, despite having simplistic graphics. It's the extra features of the game that's helped it hold up to present day. I'd say it's one of the... Out of all the Nintendo games on the platform, it's one of the games I'd put in the top 10% on the platform. Which, given there's, what, about 800 to 1,000 NES titles that were officially released. I put in the top 80 to 100. And it'd probably be towards the... It'd be in the bottom half of that top 10%. So with the controls, do take a while to get used to, but once you get used to it, it's really just it's really just a matter of understanding how the physics are implemented in the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a game of 4 out of 5. And I'm going to put it on the list. We'll put it right under Call of Duty 2 for the PC and right above Tecmo Super Bowl for the NES. Like I said, it is one of those games where it does have quite the difficulty curve. You're not just going to jump in and start playing like you would a Mario game or even a Zelda game. It does take some while getting used to the controls so you can actually perform well in the game. But it's one of those classic games that even if you pick this up 20 years in the future, it will still be an enjoyable game with a lot of challenge to offer even for the most skilled gamer out there. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the review. Please like, subscribe, and have a great day.